Assalamu alaikum, bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. This is Aisha Al-Hajjar of AMANI Birth, and this is AMANI in the Gambia, Saving Lives Today series with Sister and Brother Abbas. Assalamu alaikum, both of you. What are we talking about today, Sister Salama?
So this is an interesting topic. It's one that, mashallah, we talk about it in AMANI Birth education. I guess one of the things that women often run into when they're in labor is determining the progression, how to see where the labor is. And doctors have their clinical measures that they use to track a woman's progression in labor. And then there are also immeasurable ways that we'll talk about next week. But today, we're going to talk about the clinical progression measures that doctors use to determine how a woman is doing or progressing in her labor.
Assalamu alaikum kalbe kundo aku kuma kila biti minti wala mko tingo kono ika sumandrol minke wala jara la sumandrol minke kaje ko musola tingo wa be tembe da minto wala la jiru wa be nyari la nyalo ta be nyari.
All right, so we're discussing the ways that doctors determine a woman's progress in labor, and so you called those clinical measures, which is a really important point to make, because there are clinical measures we'll talk about, like I said, this week. And next week, we'll talk about things that are not so clinical, that are more intuitive, more non-measurable things. So next week, we'll talk about non-measurables.
Ako mata komen kai fukatan diko jaral bunda la sumandrole kaminki kaje ko tingola tembo be damen so la ko kumata bari ko don bijel mina ko ako bito flo bar lo kunala miliyalon ko wolo wibuge sumanno bar butum tubando crossiro la fannato.
So I want to point out that clinical measures are important for medical staff because they don't necessarily spend a lot of time with the woman in labor. They want to jump in, they want to do a measurement, they want something they can write in their chart, something tangible. Okay?
Ako tumadola jama sina jama la warike WhatsApp tuma jama minki je ibgatu ife watol bela. Ako wolu ikaje ko bi sabundo yaje ko ila sumandro kela kaje ko je severo ke ila sefe wala le kan kaje ko ye kuso de bulmi yalan ko e wala lontan kan.
Okay, and these are numbers they can write in a chart. I'm typing this out at the same time so I can put a comment so you can see the comment at the same time, Brother Sekaba.
I don't think my eyesight is not that great, but
you got it. All right, so there are four. Where's my hand? There are four. Can't find my own hand. There are four basic measures that doctors are looking at when they're trying to assess a woman's progress in labor.
Ako fanna nan biye mi dalan ko Dr. Olu wala jara lali ko leta ka sumang droke ni be musola tingola nyato taji be wala la tingo be nyame.
Okay, and these all are tied back to the vaginal exam.
Okay,
so with the vaginal exam, I can measure what everybody's expecting, and that's dilation. Everybody knows 10 centimeters dilated.
What is 10 centimeters?
Right. And I just want to point out that this is a subjective measure. And what I mean by that, Brother Sekaba, is that there's no like tape measure on my fingers, right? So when I'm doing a vaginal exam, I'm trying to imagine, okay, is that 1 centimeter, 2, 3? I'm like how far open is this woman based on my estimate using my fingers?
Ako yemu kule timiala nko ase falin nole kabo moto kata moto comme sumandirante wol bulu konni wol bala kaje ko nyina muso nyina fano be nyame comme ngafo ja ngami fo sendimida nyin ala sumandiro te bulo bala kaje ko muso nyimbe nyaadile ala fano be nyaadile lulu lembe woro lemba akole fo comme ase falin nole mobe kabo moto kata moto.
What I mean by this is I could do a vaginal exam and say somebody's 4 centimeters, and somebody else could do a vaginal exam immediately after me and say, no, she's 6 or she's 2. We could be very off from one person to the other, what we subjectively believe this what we're feeling, what it represents.
Ko sumandro ko men ga musonya ro suman kaji biala tingo benyame akwata sa sumando la fuko abe nani leto do ina ko la ronga fuko abe woroldo akamuna ko atuta mola jiriko le bula ataka kunyin ataka suman nyame atuto le bulu bari ya manke ko kule miela ngo abe lor na katka fuko asumandro be lor wolde mi sumandro nga bolonya.
But I want you to recognize it is not an exact science. It's a guess.
Ko ala to komen kay ko en ka sute ka lonko ni manke komen ko lontan kulem wala kulem mialan ko ku danke ni yar ngolem bara ko komen kunna miro len dron ko mi fon e bulo ke doati feko abe nyame ko le fo le miro sa bodro.
And with that, you also have to understand it can change rapidly. You know, I could check her right now and she might be 4, and in 5 minutes she could be 10. Or something could happen that scares her, and it can actually make her reverse dilate because of the scare. If I get scared, my body will close up so I don't deliver my baby in a state of fear. So if somebody does something to scare me, or something happens to scare me, I can go from 8 centimeters back down to 4 centimeters because of that emotional stress.
Ko agamin fonye ala falingo nyimfana kaje ko musola yelo nyin kaje ko dingwa ena silo nyin na yelo ala falingo akataria la wati kila sa falin non ako asabo tunkundoto kamuru kata kom o amuna ala falin wakati gela comme ya gamin bodon ni be silaring be maslaring ila balo nyi ma be soron na leta mus ite dingo nyi wulu no la kono wa akole foko kule ndo miala ko aka falin wato o ngamira ku kumo.
Okay, and so at the end of the day, it's not a number that you want to hang your hat on. Just because they say you're 4 or you're 6 or you're 8 or you're whatever doesn't mean a lot. It's a number to write in a chart. It's something to kind of give us a clinical idea, but it's not 100% accurate, and it's not something that's like do or die information.
Ako ole jimu minti to ko ni ko be nanne ole be lule ako manke ko kumfati ole ka ko nyine mu ko famati ako ngule ron ko je ko ebe yate dingol mi yalan ko ibo safela ila safe wala kam ako o multi adum fana ko manke ko baluni fa akuti o come ko nyin kana ware sondo moto ba.
Now, something that we don't talk about as often is something called effacement. And effacement means the thinning of the cervix. Okay, so we talk about dilation, that's the opening of the cervix. Okay, but the cervix is also very long. So we also need the cervix to thin out and shorten. So the thinning of the cervix is another measure that we're talking about when we do a vaginal exam, but we don't usually talk to patients about it because they're not aware of it, so we don't bother. We talk about dilation. But it's also important to note that effacement has to happen as well.
Yo akami volen ko wulu silo la fanu jama wala ka fo moli media lan ko lebe jara lal koto wolen ko ite mimbe tuno tingota bare buga min fo wolen ko ila wulu silo nyin na mesaya wallahi soron isaje ko balo nyin dino se nano ako mu kulete mi yalan ko tumando mul buga kalama e malo wala say buga foy.
Okay, a first time will typically her cervix will thin and then it will open. Okay, so if you go in the hospital, they say you're 2 centimeters, but you're 90% effaced, and maybe you've been laboring for an hour at home, or for 24 hours at home before you went to the hospital. Don't be frustrated. That thinning of the cervix is work, right? So maybe your body took 24 hours to thin. Now you're going to start dilating. Okay.
Ako ni tata jarulata eko wando be 4 centimeters lele wasiba okola tumomi alan ko yetumar mu wan nani ke 24 hours yo ke tingoto ako kane jigala tay ako min de wolen ko e wulusulo nyin ako kome abijam fare na aka mesela kome aka doya aka nyoka okola ina fanu ako kamin bo wolen ko tuando be tankonon tole nu wala tankonon to ala mesenya wala ka nyafu yo kan ten baya ibna jela ko asina wara oto kana ke kuti mi alan ko tuando abe fengala baran la ya kilo amiro.
So a mom who's had a baby before, she will probably efface and dilate simultaneously, but the first time mom is effacement then dilation. She's had a baby before, she can do both at the same time.
Kami volemo ba mi alan ko di ngoso ko manto nu o se wulu silo se nyafuno nyo kanne asafanu tuma kerenna bari mi alan ko nyina la sinya fuluti ibaji la ko fuwa wulusulo yinya funyo kan kamesea ukola sinafan.
And the two other measurements, so we have two that are related to the cervix. Those are the two we were just talking about, dilation and effacement. So go ahead and mention that. We have two related to the cervix, dilation and effacement.
Ayo akami volen kufulo mi na ko lebe dending wulusulo wolen ko ala fanu anala mesea wala anala nya funyo kan.
And then the other two measures are related to the baby's position and their movement through the pelvis.
Ako flanja wolen ko dinne wala taranya wala la lanya wulu nyang kono aning ala mamanya wulu nyang nyin kon.
And so the third one that we're talking about is called presentation. And that means we're trying to figure out what part of the baby is coming first, right? Hoping it's a head, right? But what part of that baby is coming first?
Ako wala mu be aka be diamla minna wala ko ko ben gamin fo dinne wala taranya wala musai dinne wala ala foju mala folobe fintikan wala di mala folobe itala na be fintila.
So we're hoping it's a head, and with that we're trying to figure out which way is this baby facing. And remember, we've talked about in some of the prior segments, we want a baby who's got the back of his head facing the front of the mother. So we're trying to figure out, is that baby in a good position, or is he in a position that might take more time and be a little bit more difficult for this labor?
Kami fo wala ko komi ilafta alonna le dino nyinga la lanya be nyaadi la ko komi ngafu ko man to kaje ko dino ko wayta diring ba mala o komi ilafta alonna le dino nyina tara nya bina ka nyaadi le ko ilafta mu wala do fanna mu.
Okay, and then the last thing is what we call station, and this is the measurement of the baby's head as it passes through the mother's pelvis. Okay, so what we're doing, Sekaba, there are bony prominences in the back of the pelvis. We're feeling for those when we do a vaginal exam. We're trying to figure out, has the baby's head passed these bony points? Is it above the bony points? We're trying to make sure from one vaginal exam to the next, is the baby making progress? And we use those bony points in the pelvis as kind of our landmark to see if the baby's passing through the pelvis or not.
Okay, so basically you want to see whether the baby is at that point or not. Is that right?
Hold on, I'm gonna get a prop. Hold on 1 second. Give me a pelvis.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you. Hold on. I'm gonna take you off the screen for a minute, Salama, so I have more space on the camera.
Okay.
Just give me the pelvis. It should be in the bag. Yeah, there should be a pelvis in there. Uh-oh. Oh, I don't have a pelvis. I have a baby. I need a pelvis.
Okay. Okay.
Hold on. It's probably in the red bag, Mama, if it's not in the pelvis. Okay. Give me just a second, guys. I should have had my props out, but this is my baby, by the way. This is my Amani baby, see?
All right. Hello, Amani baby.
Yeah. This baby's been with me for about 10 years. She has made a lot of different demonstrations of childbirth. So, and she's helped me to learn the different bones on the baby's head, which is important for us to know how the baby's head overlaps as it moves through the pelvis, making more space for the baby to move through. It's actually quite amazing. All right, here we go. Thank you. All right, here's a pelvis. So let me undress my pelvis so that I can actually show you the bones. So in the back of the pelvis, we have these bones that are called ischial spines, okay? And these ischial spines are what we're looking for when we do a vaginal exam. Okay, so let me get my pelvis on the screen. Okay. All right. So do you see these bony points here? Okay. There's where's my camera? There's these two bony points in the back of the pelvis. So when I'm doing a vaginal exam, I'm feeling for these bony points. Okay. These are called ischial spines. And I'm pretending there's a line across the ischial spines. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out, where's the baby's head in relationship to that spine? Is it above the spine, in line with the spines? Has it passed the spines? Right? So I'm trying to measure from this, where am I? From this, bony
from
point.
under.
Right. So from one vaginal exam to the next, I want to see that the baby's making progress, and I use this as my landmark. to try to figure out if the baby is progressing through the pelvis. Okay? Understand?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Understood. Clear. Thank you. I come for coming. Nibe tingola nyato taji bela wala tingobe tembe daminta kami fo wolen ko tenyinto fasol katra jamina ko katra tongo fulola akoy kami jibe wolen dengo nyinna ngola tembo bo to nyaadi da fa ba dumala bam fa ba santo ako ikawo tala ka suman ka tingo fanala tembe nyaaji be dini wala ngola na nyanyin wala la ngola tambi nya ku suman.
Okay. So those are I'm going to bring Salama back. Thank you. Oh, now you're on the other side. You've never been on that side before. So now these are the things that we're measuring clinically speaking. We're looking for how much thin is the cervix? How far open is it? What part of the baby's coming first? And how far is it past those spines? Those are the 4 things that we're measuring and writing in a chart. Those are our clinical signs of progress.
Yo akabi volen ko ako dini wolo kungo tenyin na faso nyento ako dini wotala nya ala kungo nyin wotemo nyento ako ela wulusilo ala mesea anala fano ikatra nyule jibe kan jaral bunda la fanar.
All right. So just to recap, we have the clinical signs of progress that are measurable. They can be charted by a doctor. We've got the effacement, the dilation, the station, and the presentation.
Ako mili ala ngo jara bunda iko le korosi wala ikatra wala sevikanke korosi wala ngo ala yellow anala mesea wala mu wulusilo nyinto aning dinde wala taranya aning ala yitanya wala ala nanya iko le jibe nibe ting wala ko jibe.
As I said, all of these things are guesses. All of these things are estimates. They're a quick way to see what's going on with the labor. But if you can spend time with a mother, there are so many unmeasurable things that we can look at that tell me a lot more about where a woman is in labor than these 4 clinical measures.
Akonyi mu kumleti mialan ko rong manke kudimia isafu ko long kan mialan ko atejijala bara ku kule mialan ko ifo wala hakilo la yiri karole ndon bara ya manke kudimia isafu ko long tan kan mu falendula tal ako banini bama banyo kan isaje ke kujama la jimi mialan ko woli tol suman nola bara ni mu fernal do mialan ko ke suman kaji be ke kadino ka bama nyina ka tingo nyina tembe nyani kalo.
So I personally feel that the unmeasurable data is more accurate, but you do have to spend time and actually be with the woman to notice them. So we'll talk about those things next week. And these are important for family members and for people who are with the laboring woman, because we can tell a lot about where a woman is in labor without anybody doing a vaginal exam.
Ako nyinku mata fensu mambalo mili alanko ni musobe tingoto wala katra je lokunala obedi amulo la bara ko wolmu kulete mi alanko akumata badi mo mi alanko ikatra musonye be mbe tingoto kadun ko isaje ko muso tetra tingoto le ane mo manna ka nyato fele ka jibe ko tingobe nyame o fanalu wala o korosi do nyin kan don ibalon nola.
And that'll be our topic of discussion next week. And that's important because it helps us know as family members and as people who support women in labor, when should we go to the hospital? We don't want to go too soon, but we don't want to go too late. So it helps us to know, like, when should we be thinking about progressing to the hospital?
Kami vola ko lokunala wala be kele kacha kumoti wala nkaje ko be mil koros la kaje ko ikana ta juna bage adu fana ikana dukundi sai obede mala kaje ko yeta tuma betola jaral bundal.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do next week. Let me just type this out. And Selma, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
I can't hear you.
We can't hear
you. Alhamdulillah. I just want to say that AMANI Birth Education provides these valuable lessons and information to not just to doulas and childbirth educators, but when a childbirth educator sits down with a family, they're educating them about this information, about these topics that they can discuss with their care providers, their doctors, when they attend their antenatal appointments. So Absolutely. We want the families in the Gambia to begin to know and learn these vocabularies, understanding their meanings and their relation to their labor, everything we're talking about, it's information that families can learn and to begin to share and educate with all of the women and the husbands in the family. So that when you enter into a hospital setting, you're confidently, educatedly can talk with your care provider about your labor, about your pregnancy. It's really important. It's really important.
Assalamu alaikum to Brother Sima.
Yeah, akami vole ma kumata bage kome ibajira ko dindim fele bundal to gavmi antenatal ul melka dino la ko nyi fele akoy bayila ko abe kumaya la ni ye ko long ni be diam la minna okay de mali saje ko ni se kacha keno bade hadma no bol nyama e man ko mi londro to katra jila rong katre fambulo ta kami ko nyi kumata le badi ngoliye anen ulula le mili alan ko ika dingo soto ka ko nyi ka long inem jarala be kacha min kela wala be min fono le ya kumata bak oto nyim kulel min kuma.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. We're at 20 minutes, so let's call this quits. And at the end of the day, subhanAllah, I would just like to say thank you to all of you who are listening. Please like, share, spread this so that we can reach more women in the Gambia. And those people who are interested to train and become educators in this information, we want to get some dates set after Ramadan. Sister Selma will be following up with that. So please do follow up with us, and we will get something going for that after Ramadan, inshallah.
Ko miliyalan ko be surade nindirola Gambia e bajala ko be wato londe la kaje ko sungaro kola e se nindiro nyinke wala ka training nyinke ako Salma ibro malum I mean for babru Salma is the one in charge of that. Is that Salma, you are one in charge of
Inshallah, I will post the dates. We are going to, if anyone is interested in joining, please reach out to us because we will do a survey just to get an idea of what dates work with the people in our group. We have about 14 people registered, right. Alhamdulillah. And you can actually register now and start your assignment, start your coursework.
There's no fees to register. There's no fees to start the assignments. There will be fees when we get started with the class itself, but there's nothing that has to be paid to register and to start working on assignments other than getting some books in your hands.
Yes, and we actually encourage anyone interested to actually join now and start reading the AMANI Birth book and doing the assignments so that you can kind of have like a frame of reference to start from. And so we actually encourage people to do that. And if you know anyone who you think will benefit from this program, they're not on Facebook, they don't follow Facebook, but they would be interested in taking the course, spread this information to them. We need more people to sign up to take the program.
Absolutely. And Brother Sima was sending du'as, and I want to thank him very much for his du'as and back at him as well. And Sister Salama, your husband, Brother Sekaba, please, I want to extend the du'as to you guys all because doing this work really is for Allah's sake, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from each and every one and make a sadaqah jariyah, and may the people who are watching spread this information. If we can reach one mom and change the outcome for one mom, then it's been a success, alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, ameen, ameen.
Right. Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Okay,
Okay.